Well, it's been a hot minute, folks. After coming out of the depths of my cave of lethargic, uncreative writer's blockage of burnout, I am finally back to give you what I owed you years ago. The third Terraverse Tours is going to be the first video I'm going to release on this channel, as I try to reactivate it, try to remodel it. This might be the last time you see the hands game, because I might actually start showing my face later on. This video is completely unscripted, by the way. Throughout the course of however long I might be active on this channel, again, I plan to release a few more author bits, some vlogs, V-logs, rant logs. I'm not going to be editing these using any form of special software. That way I can release these very quickly. All I plan to do is record it, ship it out, put it on YouTube. You'll get it as it is. If that bothers you to hear all the ums and the pauses, you can feel free to not watch them. I don't care. I actually do care, but I'm trying here. I'm not good at the talking stuff still. But let's get down to the nitty-gritty of this one first, since my talking skills might not be good, but my writing skills, I'd like to say, are at least above average. As you can see, this cover is a bit different from the first two. We have these two here, which basically show a pair of eyes with the weapon of that character. This one is the pair of eyes of Setchel Sagnar, with his little traditional sword. This is actually a rare printing error, an inking error, if you will, because there's actually supposed to be a second sword coming across down here, which I probably told you in a previous video. The printing error didn't happen here. You can see both of them right here. These are the eyes of Hesh, the assassin. Fun fact, I just named Hesh after Heshashin, one of the ancient terminologies for an assassin. I just took the first four letters and went like, Hesh. Alright, I'll use that. These are his eyes, these are his swords. You know this deal here. But I didn't actually have a face on these two until the third one. You finally now get to see the face, at least the side view, of Setchel Sagnar. Here are his trademark golden eyes, his trademark white hair that you see in so many fantasy tropes. And then here he's facing off against the Duke Armstadt. This is the Duke's final gambit. He's trying to capture the one person who halted him in his campaign across the region to eradicate the immortals, the elves, etc. Speaking of elves, you'll find in here a small elven uprising. I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's just look at the back here. It's basic, very basic. I don't have any artwork on the back. We just have the little synopsis here that you can read on your own time. I should probably mention that the quality of this camera might be a bit worse than what you're used to. Go figure, I actually picked up a webcam fully off the royalties of this first book here. I was able to accumulate some money together fully off the royalties to purchase a webcam. I don't have it on hand with me right now, and I don't want to waste time trying to find it while I'm recording, but I just wanted to say that it didn't last very long. I don't know what broke, but I was able to record video, but I had no audio. So that was busted. I had to bring out Old Faithful here. This is Old Faithful. Old Faithful is my very first webcam that I picked up a decade ago, and it still works. It's amazing. This is a cheap webcam that I picked up at Walmart a decade ago, and it works. While the newer one that I picked up a couple years ago failed within the first year of use. That just goes to show the use of technology anymore. Bottom line is, this webcam for now is going to be recording in standard definition. If it's recording in high definition, I don't know, because when I'm looking at the recorded feedback on my computer screen right now, and it definitely looks standard definition to me. Because it's actually hard for me to read the text here. It might be hard for you to read the text here, so I apologize for that. If I ever build up enough royalties to pick up a new webcam, I'll gladly do so in the future. Let's open up and begin this tour. We have here our title, The Noctintath Trilogy, Stories of the Terraverse, Book 3, The Duke's Gambit by M.R. Cole. I don't know if I added that in the previous books. Let's actually take a look. This Stories of the Terraverse bit. I added that here because I thought that's exactly what these are. Not all of these are going to be interconnected stories following the same groups of characters. This is, after all, a fairly big world. Let me find that map here. This is, after all, a fairly big region here. We started off here, over here in Little Delstan here, but we've got the rest of this place here that we can look at, and other future trilogies may start opening up here, or maybe even outside of this map entirely, and we're going to follow different sets of characters. That's why I decided to just add in these Stories of the Terraverse, because that's exactly what this is. These are stories of the Terraverse. Every character is important. He or she contributes in some way, shape, or form to the penultimate conclusion of this season. But yeah, my OCD's bothering me. I gotta find out if I did that. I did do that. There it is, Stories of the Terraverse. My memory is terrible. Can you see? It's been a few years. There's Stories of the Terraverse. Wonderful. The map here, as you can see, might actually be a bit more darkened, ink-wise, than the other ones. I actually don't remember. I want to find that out myself. Gosh, I'm so unorganized. Let's see. Does that look a little bit lighter to you? I don't know on this camera. To me, it does, but you can be able to figure out everything that's on here pretty easily enough, I guess. I do agree that it should be a bit lighter. It's just an inking problem with this printing press, I guess, because it looked a lot better on my end when I was putting it onto my files. Over here, we've got, once again, a little type of prequel following the adventures and mishaps of Aleph here. Aleph, you can't really read that book here. Read that page right there. There you go. You can see that word right now. Aleph. Aleph here is a central character in the background of the Terraverse. He is not a major character in the penultimate current goings-on. You're not going to see him featured heavily. He's heavily featured in an important way in the shadows. He's one of those characters I am absolutely fascinated about. Can you see? I can't talk. That's why I write. I'm absolutely fascinated about this character because I created him maybe 8 to 10 years ago. He was completely under a different name at the time. And throughout that decade, his story has evolved and changed to become something I have to dedicate my own book YouTube, so to speak. So I don't want to spoil too much for you. But the reason why Aleph is featured in at least one opening flashback chapter in all of these books is because he's an essential character in the background and history of Terra. That's why these flashback bits are pretty important, even though they're scattered into different points in time. Like, one might be 500 years ago, one might be 1,000 years ago, it doesn't matter. They're just there to provide you with some more insight into this character, because in the future we will meet him, and you might need to know that information. So we've got here our introduction flashback, going all the way here to our prologue. Prologue 1. Why I have a Prologue 1 and a Prologue 2 is because I have different sets of characters. This is this set of characters Prologue. And then we have the next sets of characters Prologue here. And so forth. I didn't want to have to just make one penultimate Prologue and just put a little line through here and say, oh, there's these guys here now. Because that might confuse some people. But then again, I might be underestimating your intelligence. Please tell me if I am. I know some writers underestimate mine. Oh, I forgot to tell you about this preface here. You know how I always do the preface followed by the intro. We have here intro by Chistel. Once again, Chistel breaks the fourth wall and starts talking to you about what happened in the past book, like last time on X show, blah 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 happened. I thought these were pretty cute and pretty funny. This is totally in Chistel's character to do. We haven't introduced his character in this series yet, but in my amalgamation of my mind crazy, I couldn't resist adding him into these bits because he is just too funny and too uncontrollable in my head not to put somewhere, so I don't just randomly input him somewhere in here where I didn't plan to put him. And that's how this entire trilogy started about. I was ad-libbing a prototype that I started a decade ago. The prototype of Season 1 was never complete. That's why this is taking so long after this first trilogy, because this was what I had a full outline of. But after this, I'm in new territory. I'm in completely new territory. That's why they're taking a little bit longer than usual. But this prototype was started in an old role-playing group that I had with a couple friends of mine. We started maybe the first arc before I completely scrapped it, and we had a time skip of X amount of years, and we went right into Season 2. And that's where I have a much larger blueprint of what's going on. But you can't just skip into Season 2 without talking about Season 1. This was my chance to talk about it. So, please bear with me for taking a little bit longer to get them out after this. This is new territory to me, and I'm trying to do it a little bit more professional than usual. You have the typical story. It's a little bit thicker than the other ones here, as you could tell by comparison. Maybe let's do lengthwise, if I can get this webcam to show you. There, that's the perfect angle. Look at that. Look at that. It's a bit thicker. It's a bit thicker. Probably by about 100 pages. It might actually be standard size. I don't know. But we go through here. We deal with Brogan Town. Here, Brogan is located. Where is that map again? Yep, right here. Brogan. Setchel and company have strolled down following the river to Roycat, which is book 2. They followed down the river a little bit more into Brogan. They're thinking to use a boat to get into the capital where they can take down the Emperor, but they're going to run into a little bit of problems here. Because while they're here, another group of characters, led by a new protagonist that I have created, I want to show you in the back, and I don't want to have to mess up his name, because I mess up my own characters' names a lot. Here we go. Teriel Latyan. Right there. And once again, I have a cast page. This is also to help me as well as to help you. This is mostly to help me, though, because I am terribly forgetful. If it's been 6 months, and I haven't been keeping at something, I might remember the main characters, but I will definitely forget minor characters. This is why this is here. This is to help me as much as it is to help you. Here is Teriel Latyan. He is the prince of a fallen elven nation that the humans have taken down. Teriel refuses to back down, however, and the scattered remnants of his people are seeking to raid Brogan Town, because Brogan is a central trading port, vital to providing resources into the capital. It is one of 2 major trading ports here. If they can cut this off, then they cut off the capital's access to the... I'm sorry, I'm terrible with directions. I'm looking at this upside down. There we go. To the western half of the continent. This is why it's so vital for Teriel to take Brogan Town right now. He has only 1,000 soldiers, but he has managed through over years of planning to infiltrate this little town here. And he hopes to take down the guard, cripple the harbor, and basically destroy the port. Meanwhile, Setchel and his team are caught in the middle of that. Do they want to join the elves, or do they want to just sneak away so they don't die like the rest, because they know this is going to fail? But maybe it won't. You'll have to read to find out. That's enough spoiling this story for you. I have once again a to be continued. This is book 4, the start of the 2nd trilogy. And we just so happen to be following the same set of characters from this trilogy, but that's not going to happen in the next book following it. This is going to be the start of the next trilogy. I haven't figured out a name for the trilogy yet, but I have the book titled Sins of the Father, which is technically the focus of this whole 4th debacle. Sigil Sagnar's father, Pike's father, and... excuse me, I just burped. I'm not going to need to edit that. Delavere's father. Delavere is a character introduced in this book. If you want to know who he is, purchase this book, read to find out. I don't want to spoil anything else for you. But technically, it's about these 3 characters' fathers in particular, and events that they were involved in that will shape the ensuing tribulations are to follow. But first, I'm working on this nightmare. It's a nightmare. The Fall of Rakam. This is a prequel. Setchell's own nightmare, where he loses everything. His father, his grandfather, his home, the city-state of Rakam, the second to last of the great immortal city-state empires, to be crippled and destroyed by the natives of Terra. Humans, elves, dwarves, it doesn't matter. The natives of this planet, they don't like the immortals, and they tore this place apart. But before Rakam fell, they were dealing with some very political complicatorialness with the Canesians. The Canesians are not on this map, so I don't know if I can give you any form of reference, but north of these mountains here, somewhere to this side of another peninsula, is the great kingdom / empire of the Canesians. The Canesians are a bit more sophisticated than this empire down here. This empire wasn't even a thing back then. This was just like some sort of dukedom, which, spoilers, I don't want to tell you anything further about that, but this wasn't as big as it was back in the past. The Canesians were the main force on this side of the continent. And Rakam was somewhere also north of the mountains, somewhere over here to the west. So, Rakam to the west, Canesians to the east. They had some little tension until they decided this place shouldn't be anymore. And that is not necessarily spoiling, because Sitchel's already told you this in the first book. But there's a lot more that happened that I wanted to go through. And it's going to be written in a sort of first-person point of view, because it's going to be told in past tense. Sitchel is going to be telling you Sitchel's going to be telling you this story, and not necessarily you yourself. He's going to be telling Taewon, the Bard. The Bard has been pestering Sitchel for this information ever since they met in Wrath of the Assassin. So he's finally going to be telling the Bard the story of how Rakam fell. And by proxy, this entire little small book is going to be telling you that story as well. I don't know how many pages it's going to be. I'm in the middle of it right now. I'm somewhere north of 200 pages right now. It's not going to be as long as this one is, okay? It's not going to be as thick as that. It might be about as thick as the first book, okay? So you'll probably see something about that length. That little thickness right there. That little girth. That's probably going to be about that size. We're already 22 minutes in and I've just been talking. That's crazy. I don't talk that much. And here we got the author's post-story note. Live long and achieve your goals. There's a little cringy, cheesy thing. You can't read this out. I can't read this through this standard definition camera. So I don't know why I'm holding this up for you. If you can read this, and if you have some way to upscale it, then please, by all means, pause and read it for yourself, or buy the book yourself. I've shown you this here. This is the cast, the main participating people. And here are the antagonists. We have two primary antagonists, honestly. There's not really too much else going on. It's just Duke Armstead and Hesh. That's it. That's all. We have minor captains, minor lieutenants. They're not going to have any names. They're just nameless fodder to die off. So I don't want to waste time telling you about them. If you want to be told about them, you're going to have to find out what happens to them and all that crap. These are just the main two. Duke Armstead's have Final Gambit, and Hesh returns as well. They're working together. They're teaming up to take down Sitchel and recapture the Eldari descendants of these. Here we have the others. I always have the others because we have third parties who are not affiliated with the bad guys or the good guys. They're just there. We have Aleph, Gadon, Gale, Neela, and Kassir. And of course we have Vince the Rat. Is it? I can't read it from upside down. Vicus the Rat. I am terrible at reading things from upside down. As you see, I have this thing set atop my monitor. So this end here is facing the monitor, and this end here is facing me, which means I'm looking at this from upside down. So if I can't read something, I have to flip it around. Blah, 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 blah. I probably told you this in a previous book, but you know. Encyclopedia Glossarica, because we have all sorts of strange terms that nobody knows. that I have to keep a record of, because I'm going to forget them too. So I have to look back at here and go like, well, what was this, and what did this mean? Oh, it meant this. Well, let's keep talking about that in the future book. We have dates, we have terms, we have common terms like drow, we have uncommon terms like Kanasis. Here we go, there we go, Kanasis. Kanasis is the capital of the Kanesian Empire, kingdom, whatever have you, depends on when the timeline you're talking about. Kanasis is the major focus in the Fall of Rakam. I have it here. We have the Red Cap Mountains, we have Onkrek, which is the Dwarven Kingdom, capital, we have... Yes, also very interesting. I can't read this from upside down. Maybe you can. And then we have about the author. We have links. Oh, I doubt you can click these in a page in a book, but maybe you could type them down on your phone and find them. This section's mainly here for the ebook, because I think the ebook actually has these hyperlinks active, and you can click them and go to these pages. Don't quote me on that, I don't know. I don't have the ebooks of my own versions. And that's the end. This is the Terraverse Tours number 3. This has been years in the coming. I should have given you this before I disappeared, but I didn't. I am terribly sorry about that, but this is hopefully the first in many future videos to come. I'm not scheduling anything. I'm not going to script anything. I'm not going to prepare anything, because plans will change. And if I make a plan and I don't stick to it, then that just lets you down. So if I don't make any plans, then I don't set myself down, and I don't set you down, because none of us is expecting anything until it comes out. So, this has been M.R. Cole, a disorganized mess, signing off. Peace. That's an upside down V, I just noticed.